welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new, and welcome to a very gothic reading vlog. So here's the deal. I don't know if I actually like this whole gothic genre. I have steered away from things having to do with vampires. Like, it just doesn't really interest me that much. But whenever I see pictures or people talking about it, I'm like, oh, that sounds good. That sounds like something I would enjoy. And I know the gothic genre and this whole gothic aesthetic and like things that fit into the gothic world is very vast. It's a very wide variety of things. My mind always goes to vampires, but I know there's a lot more to it than that. So in this vlog, we are going to read some gothic books, some books that have labeled themselves to be very gothic, and we're gonna see if I like them or not. Before I show you the books, I did just want to Google like what gothic means in like the book world. So I just Googled gothic genre books to kind of set the tone, get a gauge of where we're at here and what that means. So Google says that gothic fiction is characterized by an environment of fear, the threat of supernatural events, and the intrusion of the past upon the present. Gothic fiction is distinguished from other forms of scary or supernatural stories such as fairy tales by the specific theme of the present being haunted by the past. That's interesting. Had I not Googled that, like, that's not how I would have put gothic genre into words, but I guess that makes sense. Another one says, gothic literature is a genre of literature that combines dark elements, spooky settings, conflicted and disturbed characters into a whimsically horrific, often romantic story. That is more along the lines of like what I was thinking. I know that a lot of gothic books have some sort of romantic tone to them, which y'all know I don't read romance books. They're just not really my jam, but I do and I can appreciate when it's woven into another story. So I'm okay with it being in books like these. But yeah, okay, so let me show you what the books are. The first one that I picked was Belladonna by Adeline Grace. I have heard nothing but incredible things about this book, and I'm very excited to read it. This is described as more of like a gothic fantasy, and all I know about this one is that we are following an orphan who lost her parents extremely young, like when she was a baby, and she's gone from family member to family member to family member, and they have all been kind of after her inheritance. And when her grandmother passes away, she ends up at this house, and some spooky things start happening at the house, and somehow death is involved, like as a character. So that's really all I know. You all know I don't like to know more about my books going into them. Like, I want to know just the littlest bit to kind of understand where I'm going, but I don't want to know more than that. So that's book number one. Book number two is going to be Catherine House by Elizabeth Thomas. This one I'm excited about for a number of reasons. One, it's by a Black author, and where it is February in Black History Month, I wanted to make sure I was putting books on my reading list that were by Black authors. So that's very exciting. Also, again, have heard, I won't say nothing but good things. This one is the one that I've heard the most like mixed reviews about. Some people love it, some people hate it. And all I know is that we're at a school called Catherine House, and one of the newer students arrives and she starts to uncover some weird things that are happening at the school. Vague, but like I'm here for it. This one I've heard is more like dark academia / gothic, so we will kind of see where it treads there. And then book number three is also by a Black author. This is House of Hunger by Alexis Henderson. Again, wanted to make sure I was picking up books that were by Black authors, so very happy about that. This one I think is going to be the most gothic of them all, because this one, the shine from the library seal's thrown me off. One, this cover is like extremely gothic looking in my opinion. Like when I picture gothic genre, It's this. It's very Victorian looking. We have a choker with blood dripping from it. And this one, all I know is that we are following a blood maid into a house, I'm assuming House of Hunger, and some weird things start going down within the house and the other blood maids. Again, vague, I know, but like, again, don't want to know more than that. So these are the 3 books that I will be reading for this vlog, and by the end of it, hopefully I'll have more of a grasp on whether or not I actually enjoy this gothic genre in books. So let's just go ahead and dive into the vlog. Yo, the crows are going crazy outside my window right now. So if you hear them, apologies. Hi, hello. I wanted to give you a little update, first impression, because I did start Belladonna yesterday by Adeline Grace, and I am loving this so far. I'm about 150 pages into it, and the vibes of this are giving me like similar vibes to Addie LaRue, which, if you don't know, is one of my favorite books of all time, like top 3, if not still number 1. It switches daily, but like it's up there, not in the sense of like they have the same plot line, because they definitely do not, but similar in the sense of we have these entities that are very much a character, very much giving impressions, very much present in our characters' lives. In Addie LaRue, we of course had the devil himself, and in this book we have Death, which is just really cool in my opinion. Like, Death is a very present character off the jump, and he follows our main character Signa throughout her life, and it is just like giving the most gothic vibes, which is what I was hoping for. And I will say it's not reading super young adult, which is awesome. Our main character Signa, she's an orphan, so I feel like when we have characters like that, like they very much had to like kind of raise themselves, so they're already very independent, they're very much mature for their age, but at the same time we're getting that like she just wants to belong, she just wants to like have some friends, have a little bit of normalcy in her life. So like while it's not reading super young adult, you can still see like the younger side of her coming through, and those wants and those needs, and it's really like making an impact on the story, and I'm just loving it. And I love that this book like goes like from the jump. We don't need any sort of build up, we don't need any sort of like building of the characters or whatever. Like, we're just thrown in there right from the get-go. The first chapter in this really like sets the tone for what the book is going to be, because it's the chapter where she is orphaned and some things go down like right off the gate, and then we just immediately jump ahead into Signa's life and where she's at now and what she's currently going through and what's going on and everything with her estate and the family members that she's kind of gotten tossed around to. And then also, obviously, we get introduced to Death and how he plays a part in her life, and I'm just really having a great time. The writing is so pretty, and I just feel like you know you're going to be set up for a good book when the dedication is like not just like to blah blah blah. The dedication in this book is there's a house in the woods with an Arthurian table and a never-ending charcuterie board. This story is for those I've sat with at the table who make writing feel like magic. Excuse me, like that's the dedication in the book. You know you're in for like really good writing, but you're also good for like in for really good storytelling when that's the dedication. I just love it. Oh my goodness, I'm having such a fun time. This is definitely like a binge-worthy book. This book is just over 400 pages, but I feel like I'm going through it really quickly because the writing is just so easy to follow while also being beautiful, and the story is really fast-paced. Even just at the 150 page mark, we are having some major things that have happened so far and some things that have unraveled, some truths that we've found out about certain people, and like it's just, this book is just not wasting any time. And I know that's like a lot to compare it to Addie LaRue, but that's the only other book that's kind of like similar in this vibe that I feel like I've read. And where Addie was like very slow burn at the beginning and like a lot of building up into the story and everything like that, this book like goes right in, and I just love that. I mean, obviously, like I said, Addie is one of my favorite books. I love it. I love that slow burn, but I also am so here for just getting like plunged into this with like no expectations, just going head first right in and then really enjoying myself. So that's my update on that. I am going to continue to read today. I'm also listening to the audiobook simultaneously, and it's really good as well. The voice for Death is so creepy. I'm pretty sure it's the same narrator, but the voice that she uses for Death is like, it's very slow and drawn out and deep, and it's just gives you the creeps. So we've also gotten some gross imagery that's happened here as well. So there's definitely like that horror element present as well, which I'm really enjoying. It's gross, but like I'm enjoying it. So overall, having a great time. Like I said, I'm going to read more of that in a little bit. Right now, I'm just gonna go have some lunch, watch some YouTube. I feel like I'm so behind on YouTube videos right now. So that's my update. I will keep you posted. I will come back and update you hopefully before the end, but if not, then obviously at the end. It just depends upon how fast I fly through this book. But yeah, that's it for now. Y'all, I love this book. I love this book so much. I'm not done yet. I still have like 90 pages left, but unless those 90 pages go south, this is 5 stars. I mean, I love it. I love it. I love it. This book shouldn't work. Hear me out. This book shouldn't work because it has so many things going on. There's like a few different plot lines that we're following. It's all the same timeline. And I should mention too, I forgot to mention in my last clip, that this is definitely like a time period piece. So we are very much taking place in like Bridgerton vibes. It doesn't exactly say the year or anything like that, but there's balls happening. This is a time where girls are meant to be proper, where they run the household, where they have day clothes and night clothes, where they have coming out parties and debutante balls, where they have suitors that come and like bid on them, like very much the Bridgerton kind of vibes going on. That's like what I want to compare it to, just so you get an idea of like when this takes place. So we're getting that. So we have like this time period kind of going on, and we're following our main character Signa as she's trying to figure out like, does she want to fit into that world? Does she want to have all of like the debutante things and act like a lady? And she keeps referring to this book that her mother left her, or that she found among her mother's things, that's like, you know, how to act like a lady pretty much. And she keeps referencing it like, this is what the book says and my mother would really approve of that, and blah, 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 blah. And like, you know, not being left alone with a man because that's dubbed as wrong, or like scandalous if you're like seen alone with a man before you're married, you know, that kind of thing. So we're following like her as she's trying to figure out that, while also having Death as a character and following her relationship with him and how that all works out. We also have like a ghost story happening. We also have like a mystery happening. Like, we have all of these different things, and in any other book I would be like, this is too much. Like, there's too many things going on, but they seamlessly somehow fit together. And I do not know how Adeline Grace has done it, but it's beautifully done. The writing is so pretty, and you are I am fully engaged in every single plot line, and like I said, they just like fit together like a puzzle piece. It's not confusing by any means. Like, they all work together and they're all happening on the same timeline. There's just so many different things going on, and like, I'm engaged in the mystery and I want to know who it is. I'm engaged in Death and like her relationship with him and her figuring out like why they have this weird connection. I'm engaged in like her trying to figure out like what world does she want to fit in, because once she turns 18 she gets this inheritance, and one of those things is the house that her parents lived in called Foxglove. So she's like, do I want to run a household like a lady, and like do all these things? So you have all of these different facets going on, and it's just so beautifully done, and they all work together so well, and it just keeps you intrigued in the story. I think if we only had one of them, like, it would be an okay book. But because we have so many different things going on, as well as, of course, a little bit of romance, because it's a Gothic book, and if I've learned anything about Gothic books, that should be very present in that, which you all know is not my cup of tea, but I like when it's woven into other things. So I'm here for what's happening in this book so far, and I'm just like, could go on forever. Like I said, unless this takes a turn or I don't like the plot twist, I'm pretty sure I have one of the things like pegged. I had it pegged within like the first I want to say like 75 pages. I'm not going to like boast it and say it was sooner. I think I have one of the things figured out. Then I'm sure there's going to be a couple of more reveals. But I cannot wait to see how this unfolds. I have to stop myself from continuing to read this and like finishing right now, because I have other things that I need to do. But oh my god, like, I'm shocked. When I picked this up at Barnes & Noble, it was totally on a whim. I had an idea of like this video in mind, but I was like, oh, I don't know what books I want to read for it or whatever, and then I saw this one and saw that it was referred to as like a Gothic fantasy horror kind of thing, and I was like, all right, because of this cover, I'm going to take a whim on it. Imagine if I did not pick this up and like bypassed it because it wasn't in my comfort zone or whatever. I would be like clearly missing something. And I still stand by what I said, but not comparing it to Addie LaRue, because there's no comparing the two. They are two very different stories, but getting like the same vibes of that, it's still very much present and still very much happening. And I just love it. I love it. I feel like I said, I don't want to, I'm gonna say what I was just gonna say. I'm gonna take it back. I'm gonna take it back. Hold on to it until I actually finish the book, and then I will say what I was just gonna say. But oh my god, I'm loving it, and I cannot wait to finish this later today. Oh, and I also forgot to say that the family that she's staying with right now, their last name is Hawthorne, which like is my maiden name, so I feel like I'm just like connecting that much more. But also, I did not realize how many books use the name Hawthorne. I've read a lot recently that have used that name, and like, I'm here for it because I'm like, ooh, that's my name. If you didn't know, it's actually my middle name now, because I didn't want to get rid of it. Fun fact, did you know you could do that? I did. So my full name now is Kyla Hawthorne Natali, because I didn't want to lose the Hawthorne because I really like it. Anyways, that's besides the point, but like I didn't realize how many books actually use that name, and I feel like I've read so many recently. It's just fun. It's just really fun. I mean, I don't think we are going to be surprised by this update whatsoever, but I finished Belladonna. I'm obsessed with this book. I love it so much. This book is incredible. I mean, for all of the reasons that I've already stated, but I'm going to boast about for a second, because I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it so much. This book definitely gives Addie LaRue vibes, and I feel confident in saying that if you enjoyed Addie LaRue, you will enjoy this book. And I know that is a bold statement. It's the one I held back on yesterday because I was like, is that too much to say? But no, I'm going to say it because that's the feeling I have about this book right now. I loved it. It is so beautifully done. The writing is so pretty. There are so many quotes in here that just will like stick with me forever. I also just love the progression of Signa herself and realizing her worth and who she wants to be in this world. So powerful, especially because this is a young adult book, so I feel like this is going to impact so many younger readers, but it can totally hit also for adults because I feel like all of us go through all sorts of change and kind of have these like identification crisis, especially based on like society as well, which is very much present in here. You know, we have a certain way that society works in this time period, and she's like, do I really fit into that? I'm not really sure. Is that the life that I want to lead? I know I'm supposed to do that, but is that really what I want? And the theme of that is so present. And then we also have, like I said, death as a character. And then we have the reveals about the mystery that was happening throughout this, which totally like is very present of the title itself, Belladonna. Oh my god, I just like, I don't want to like go over any more of this because I went into this book blind. I didn't really know a ton about it other than I knew that the main character was orphaned and it had something to do with an inheritance. That's it. And when I read that synopsis, I was like, oh, inheritance game, so fun. Oh, it's so much deeper than that. So much deeper than that. So I am not going to go over specifics. I'm not going to go over in detail other than what I've already said. Just know that you will love this book. At least I hope that there are people out there who also love this book as much as me. I know this is one that's going to stick with me. I can very easily see this being in my top 5 of the year, and like, hello, it's only February, but like, yes. I don't know what else to say. Please read it. Please read it so I can have someone else to talk to about it. And I also would love to know, like, if you read it, your thoughts on the whole, like, I don't want to compare it to Addie LaRue, because Addie LaRue was totally, like, standalone. V.E. Schwab had a masterpiece with that book. It is something special on its own, but the vibes of this are very similar, so I feel like if you enjoyed that, you will also enjoy this book. And that's where I'm saying. I'm not comparing it. They are very two different stories, standalone books, of course, but, like, I feel confident in saying that. And I hope you read it. And if I didn't already say, and if it wasn't already completely obvious, 5 out of 5 stars. Hands down, no questions asked. to give you my first impressions of Catherine House by Elizabeth Thomas. What the fuck am I reading? I can't. What the actual fuck? I think you could see that in my last clip here. So last night I started on this, got about 50 pages in, and then this morning as I was dropping ZD off at school for her pack adventure, I was listening to the audiobook and listened to the audiobook while I was getting ready and whatnot. So I am currently up to year 2, which is page 132. One thing I will say about this is that the chapters are extremely long, like 30 to 40 to 50 pages, which is so not my jam. But because I am listening on audio while reading, it is making it go a bit faster, so thank the heavens for that. I think if I didn't have the audiobook, this would be a totally slower experience. But yeah, I mean, I did not know a ton about this book going into it. I'm not going to lie. I picked it off of a Gothic kind of list, and I had heard some other people talk about it and that they really enjoyed it, but that it was a little like weird and strange, and I would agree. The writing is just a little, I don't know if it's the writing or if just the way the main character speaks is just a little bit different. It's not like wildly different, but it just takes a second to get used to her dialogue and like her dialect and just kind of how the story is told. It's just a little strange. So far, we have met our main character, Inez, and she is now at Catherine House, which is a school which people attend and for 3 years, and then they get to decide what they want to do or where they want to go. I think this is very much giving me like cult vibes, and I don't know if this is actually a cult book. I have no idea. So later me in this video might be like, I was right all along, or I could be completely wrong. But that's the vibes I'm getting. I'm getting very cult vibes. It's like people come to the school for 3 years. While they're there, they have to dress a certain way, they have to follow a certain curriculum. If they don't abide by the rules, they have to go into what's called the tower for a certain amount of time, isolated before they can come out, and like they're forced to do some weird things. So it's very much giving cult vibes. We are also getting a little bit of a backstory on obviously her past. You know that she was a bit troubled before coming here, and then something happened, kind of traumatic happened, and then now she's at this school. And the school also is talking a lot about this like plasma experiment, and I'm not even going to try to like talk my way through that because I'm a little confused. I think it's something that like happened back in the day, where it was like, you know, there's like these plasma experiments happening way back when. You don't know exactly what they were for, just something to do with plasma. And then they stopped doing them for a certain time, and now there seems to be, you know, talk about it coming up again, or some people are trying to start it up again. Clearly I know what I'm talking about, right? I stand by my first statement. What am I reading? What is this book? I am so curious to see where it goes. It's not that I'm not enjoying it. It's almost like one of those books, like kind of like Bunny, where you don't really know what's happening the entire time until it's revealed to you. That's the same way that I'm feeling about this book. I do not know what's going to happen. I don't know where it's going. I'm a little confused about what's going on, but I'm still having a good time. I will say I don't think this is giving like the most Gothic vibes. I feel like so far Belladonna was definitely, you know, gave that kind of vibe. Maybe not as much as I was expecting, but definitely more so than this is. I have a feeling House of Hunger is going to be like the most Gothic vibe in this vlog. But anyways, yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm curious to see where it goes. It's very It's not that long. It's just over 300 pages. So we'll just have to see. I will obviously keep you updated along the way. Yeah, this is it's an interesting one. It's an interesting one. I finished Catherine House this morning and I still am like, what the fuck did I just read? But I also think that that is the point of this book. So after finishing this, I decided, you know what? I need a little bit of time. And then also I watched the live show from the Literally Dead book club that happened, I want to say like a year ago, 2 years ago, whatever. Because I was like, I need to hear other people talking about it and hear like their translation of what's going on in this book to kind of grasp my thoughts. And I think all of us have come to the conclusion that there is no plot to this book. The characters you do not connect to, nor are they likable. It leaves you with an ambiguous ending. You don't really have answers or clarification on what's going on throughout this book at all. And those seem like all things that would like warrant a DNF, and yet it was not. I think I'm landing on 3 stars because I still enjoyed my time. We're going to talk about the things that I really liked about it. First of all, this is from a Black author, which obviously, like, first and foremost, that is the most important. Also, this is her debut novel, which, like, just leaves your jaw hanging on the floor. Like, I cannot imagine what she is going to do from here. Like, this is your debut. You took such a huge risk and, like, went bold from the start. Insane. Absolutely insane. I also love a book with an ambiguous ending. I do. I love it. To me, this is more dark academia than it is gothic. It didn't really give me gothic vibes. If anything, I would say this is a dark academia suspense with a little bit of sci-fi in it. And yeah, so I enjoyed my time while I was reading it. You are following Inez as she, gets to Catherine House, and as things start kind of unraveling to her, as things are explained to her. When you go into Catherine House, you are there for at least 3 years. Like, that's how long the length of this school curriculum is. And while you were there, you basically stripped of everything from your past life. So you're not allowed to talk to your family, to talk about things from the outside world, to have a lot of things with you from your past life. Like, everyone dresses the same, everyone's given the same beauty products to use. Like, all of these things, you're not allowed to listen to music. You have to, like, earn points for things like that. So it's very strange, which made me think, like, oh, this is totally going in, like, a cult setting. And I guess in a way, that is kind of what's happening here, but not really. Because you also have this, like, element of this science experiment that used to happen way back in the day and that they stopped doing for whatever reason and are now trying to, like, do it again. And this school is kind of doing this experiment, and some of the students are aware of what's happening, some are not. And it's just one of those things where, like, again, you're not connecting to any of the characters because some of them are, like, so robotic and they've like, drank the Kool-Aid of what's going on in this and they're, like, in it. But then you also have this, like, mystery happening where some of the students have, like, after going to the tower are going missing and you're like, well, that's really weird. And the school is saying that they died, but, like, you know, we all know things are happening here. And you have our main character, Inez, who, like, is such a strange perspective to read from because she is just, like, doesn't care about anything. Like, she's, like, robotic in her feelings. She's just, like, and okay, like, I'm just here. I just want to be, man. Like, I just want to be. I did some shit in my past life. Like, I'm here. I'm gonna soak in, you know, I'm gonna skate along on my, you know, school activities. I'm gonna, like, make some friends, but, like, I'll kind of like them. Sometimes I'll, you know, sleep around to, like, make myself feel something a little bit. Like, she's not entirely likable, and she just kind of is throughout this whole book. So you're not, like, really connecting to her, but at the same time, you're, like, kind of invested in the story. I don't know. This book is so weird, and I don't know. It's one of those books where I'm like, I'm not sure I will ever know how I truly feel about it. Which is why I think I have to give it 3 stars. Because I'm going to think about it for a long time. I know that. But it's not one that I could say is, like, a new all-time favorite or that I would, like, wildly recommend to people. And I also don't think it was, like, the worst book. It's definitely not warranted a 1 or a 2 star because it's so interesting and fascinating in its delivery. And the writing is still really good. And, like, it's a debut novel. And I have to, like, sit in the middle because I don't know how I feel about it. But again, I think that's the point. I think you're supposed to walk away having so many different interpretations and having so many things unanswered. Like, that's the joy of a read like this, but it's also so frustrating at the same time. And I guess it just depends upon what's important to you in a book. Like, is the writing important to you? Is the plot the most important thing? Are the characters the most important thing? For me, I'm more of, like, a character-based person. I don't know. It's so hard to, like, rank those, but it depends upon where you sit with those and if you'll like this or not, because again, the plot is so linear. Like, yeah, there's this little air of mystery, but because everything at the school is just so kind of, like, flat, the whole plot line is very flat. Like, so you're not, like, it's not making your heart race or whatever, but you're still so curious of what's going on. I don't know what else to say about it. I think you should read it. I do not know. If you can deal with an ambiguous ending, if you can deal with maybe some unlikable characters, if you can deal with, like, not knowing what's going on throughout the book and still feeling a little bit confused, then yes, you'll like this. I would say that if you were a fan of Bunny, you may enjoy this. I'm not going to say you definitely will. I'm saying you may. I think Bunny for me is obviously way better. Bunny is, like, top tier book. I loved it. So Weird and Twisted. This is also Weird and Twisted, just in a completely different way. But if you like, the tone of that, you might enjoy this. I don't know what else to say. Hello, I am out and about running errands today. It's actually, like, almost 50 degrees outside. It's still cloudy, so it's not feeling as warm as I hoped it would, but it's still feeling really nice, almost springy, like almost. I literally like came out without a jacket on. I'm here for it. I'm doing groceries and all of that, but I wanted to update you while I was out and about on House of Hunger. So I started this yesterday. I am up to page 124 and I'm liking it so far. I'm not loving it. The atmosphere in this is absolutely incredible. It is very gothic, so I feel comfortable saying that this is the most gothic of the three for sure. The atmosphere is really good. We're getting such vivid descriptions of the House of Hunger, and you can just really picture like each and every single room, which I love. I am loving the descriptions of that. I'm also like, you get every little detail, so they describe all of the other housemaids and the, you know, kind of getting a little glimpse into like what their experience is like. And really we're just following our main character Marion. So far we just kind of got a glimpse into what her life was like before, and then she sees an advertisement in the paper to be a blood maid, and her life is just like in the tombs basically. So she's like, absolutely, I'm gonna take it. And blood maids are looked down upon, like almost worse in this society than being like a sex worker or anything like that. So it's just very interesting to see that kind of come into play and how people react when she says that she's going to do this. And then obviously we get her experience as starting out in this house and what that is like, and that's as far as I am right now. And I'm liking it. I'm liking the vibes. I'm not like in love with it. I am curious to see what happens. It so far is not very gory or gruesome or anything. We've had a couple of moments related to blood, but nothing like over the top. And from what I've seen, this is definitely going to get grosser. So I am curious about that, and I am curious to see what can happen. This is fairly short. It's only like 280 something pages. So I only have like 150 pages left, so it's got to jam pack a lot of story in those 150 pages. So I'm curious, I'm interested, but it's not like wowing me so much right off the bat. So yeah, that is where I'm at. Reading sprints are happening this afternoon, I believe, on Gabby's Patreon, if I remember correctly. So I'll have a good chunk of time to read this. I'm hoping to finish it today if I don't have like utmost million distractions going on. So fingers crossed that can actually happen and I can actually finish it today. That would be incredible. So that's the aim, that's the goal. But for right now, this parking lot is chaos right now. Trader Joe's is always jam-packed. You have to come at like 8 o'clock in the morning when they open, or else it's insane. But I need to go in, get my groceries, deal with the craziness in there, and then go home and read the rest of that. Heidi-ho! Okay, I have finished House of Hunger. And I won't lie, I didn't really enjoy it that much. But I think this is more of a me problem and not the book problem. I knew coming into this video that vampires were kind of just like one of those things that's just not really my thing. And this book isn't about vampires per se, it's about blood maids. However, it gives that vibe, and like I just did not really care that much. The first 100 pages, I was intrigued, like as I said in my last update, like I want to know where the story's going. Those first 100 pages had me very curious because we're meeting Marion in her world and where she comes from, and then she has this opportunity and we're seeing her as she comes into the house and that kind of thing, and you know some like sinister things are going to happen, right? Especially because she doesn't get like the best vibe from the people sorry for the background noise, doesn't get the best vibe from the people that are already in the house and the other blood maids, especially the first blood maid. So like that all had me like super curious. I was like, okay, I'm interested to see where this goes because I know some shit's going down. And then it just started to unfold and I was like, oh, this is it. Like, it didn't build up to this big thing that I was expecting. I think I was just expecting this to be bigger than it was. And don't get me wrong, I can understand why people love this book, and to some this might be like a huge plot twist and this huge plot line that they find so crazy and interesting and blah blah. For me, I was just like, okay, we're going, nothing's really happening, the gore is not there for me whatsoever, but I'm not someone that gets grossed out by blood anyways. Give me like wounds that are pussing and I cannot deal, okay? I think that's why Mexican Gothic like really fucked me up so much. This book I was like, and this isn't gross at all. Like, we're just getting a few scenes that have to do with blood. And, so not really that, like, jarring for me. And I didn't really find any sort of suspense in the story. And I just kind of was like, okay, I'm waiting for something bigger to happen. And when the big plot twist comes and everything starts wrapping up, I was just left a little, like, meh about it. Don't get me wrong, the writing is so pretty. It's gorgeous, and the atmosphere in this book is 10 out of 10. And the Gothic vibes are the most present in this book for sure. Like, compared to the other ones that I read in this vlog, this is by far the most Gothic, but I just think it wasn't for me. I just wasn't captivated, I wasn't really interested, and I don't want to say, like, I wasn't connecting with the characters. Like, how am I supposed to relate to what they're going through? I've never been a blood maid, don't ever plan on being a blood maid, so, like, that's not really there, but I don't think you have to relate to characters to necessarily enjoy the story if you enjoy the plot line or, you know, the other things that are going on. The atmosphere for me is where this book was at. Like, I just loved it, but beyond that, it just kind of fell a little flat for me. I think I'm gonna land on 2.5 stars for this. I don't feel justified giving it a 3 because that means that, like, I really enjoyed myself. It was a good time. It falls a little bit lower than that for me, but I don't think it's like as low as a 2. So we're gonna settle right in the middle there and give it a 2.5. This, like I said, understand why some people love it, why some people have given it 5 stars. I get it. I just think this is a me problem and me finding like where I fit in with the Gothic genre in books, and this is not it. And I think I've determined that, like, this whole setting around of vampires and, like, that Gothic side of things is probably not going to be an enjoyable time for me. I'm not counting it out completely. We will see if other stories come up that involve vampires. I might give it a whirl to see where I land, but I think it's safe to say that, like, this was a me problem. This was 100% a me problem. So that wraps up my Gothic vlog. We had quite the roller coaster here. We had a 5-star, we had a 3-star, and we had a 2.5. So overall, do I enjoy the Gothic genre? Did this help clear anything up for me? No, it didn't. I still do not know if I enjoy the Gothic genre as a whole. I think I have to read some more in this kind of world to figure out where I stand and what I enjoy about it. I will say I enjoy the atmosphere of it. 100%. All of these books were very atmospheric, and I really appreciate that. I love when a book can, like, suck me in and I feel like I'm there and I can picture every little detail. Like, I love that, and that was very present in all of these, so that I can appreciate. Beyond that, I'm not really sure. So if you have any books that give you the Gothic vibe or are described as being Gothic, please leave them in the comments of this video. I would love some more suggestions, especially gauging like where I sat with these books and kind of where I stand. So if you have any suggestions, leave them as a comment below. But I hope you enjoyed watching this roller coaster and watching me kind of dive into this world. If you did enjoy, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe if you're not. I would love to have you here, part of the fam, following along. Don't forget to turn on the bell so you never miss a video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!